16b. Alira. With everybody back in school, the days at the manor were slow and quiet. At-home studies resumed, but did little to pass the time. Grandfather insisted that I start a course on the sciences. Thus far, it was my favorite class. Our focus today was on the raw elements, water, earth, air, and fire, which occur naturally on Aether, not to be confused with aqua, terra, air, and ignis, which are Magus-powered and passed down from the gods. Most mortales are familiar with the basic knowledge of the raw elements, since they are unable to generate Magus power, forcing them to stick to their surroundings. Today's assignment demonstrated the use of all elements, creating something man-made. The task was to fashion some clay into pottery. Clay, water, a kiln, and a stoker were set aside already and waiting. I jumped in head first, confident of my knowledge on the subject. The lump of clay was hard and required ample amounts of water to soften up. After finally rendering the clay into a moldable substance, I grabbed the tools provided and set to work. The task proved harder than anticipated and resulted in many failed attempts to shape. Finally, I settled on a smaller design for a cup. Adding a handle to the cup was quite troublesome, as it would not stick well to the base. The clay was either too dry or too wet. Success was eventually had, though the end result was not very pretty. The mug was then set aside to dry before it could be added to the kiln. It was then wrapped in greased cloth to retain its moisture evenly. The process would take about a week to cure until it could be fired in the kiln. I reflected on the balance of elements required to create the finished product. As was the intended purpose, I found a renewed appreciation for the raw elements and their balance in Aether. There was a beauty in creating something with what Aether naturally provided and shaping it all of my own. Setting aside my work with pride, I prepared for the day, ready to see my friends. Grandfather knocked at the door as I tidied up my workspace. "How was class?" he asked, looking down at the table. "It was wonderful. I crafted a mug, but it is drying now and we cannot fire it until it is done," I responded. I was eager to show off my work, but I dared not risk ruining it somehow by unwrapping it. "I see. I was hoping to get a peek before, but I shall just wait until the final reveal," said Grandfather. "How are you doing? I heard about Rawl. There are so many changes going on in your life, and it can be overwhelming, especially for somebody of your talents." It was true that so much had happened in the last couple years, and I was feeling a little overwhelmed by it all. Too many emotions for one person alone, let alone picking up on those around me. My face must have revealed exactly how I felt, because Grandfather walked over and hugged me tight. Even with growing closer over the last year, it was unexpected receiving a hug from Grandfather, though it was pleasant nonetheless. Grandfather pushed me back to arm's length, awaiting a response. "I'm managing, though it can be hard at times," I admitted. "Father has written to the palace. Rawl will undoubtedly have to return to his duties before long, and we will all be feeling that loss. Ophelia and Raylan especially have grown quite attached to him." "Well," Grandfather started, "I won't keep you any longer. I know you are eager to catch up with your friends. Remember, you can fall back on your family and friends for support, so you don't have to shoulder the weight alone." Grandfather gave a warm smile and turned out the door. It was still early before anyone would be out of school. I sat alone in my room with my thoughts. I pondered heading to the gardens, but the heat was getting pretty rough on my already weakened system. I pulled out the siren stone from my chest, weighing the options. It felt cool to touch and good against my palm. I gave it a little squeeze and felt an instant breath of fresh air wash over me. The humidity that weighed us all down was lifted like a veil that had been thrown over Aether. It felt wonderful and wrong at the same time, as if I had cheated the natural order of things. Though wasn't it the natural order that was skewed? A war waged within between comfort and morality, along with fear and consequences. Morality won in the end, and I headed back to the chest to replace the stone. Alira, I recognized at once the voice of Mother inside my head. I stood frozen, a foot away from the chest, unable to replace it just yet. I cast my eyes around in search of Mother, but her voice was within me. Beautiful daughter, I am here with you always. I slunk to the floor on my knees, tears welling up heavily at the corners of my eyes. Mother, I said, I failed you. Do not fret. I know your fears. You did all you could, my child. It is I that should seek your forgiveness. Had I told you what you are, you could have lived a better life. Why did you never tell me, Mother? I asked. With your grandmother gone, it left a hole in your grandfather's heart. When I showed a talent as an empath, it brought all that pain back to the surface. I pushed them down deep to please my father. Eventually, I too grew to associate them with my mother and chose to keep my talents hidden. I did not wish to be reminded of the mother that did not want me. I grew to despise my mother, and so refused to ever tell you of your abilities when they emerged. It was unfair of me, Alira, and I owe you an apology. I have seen you as you have built a connection with your grandmother and grandfather. It is everything I ever wanted for myself and my children. I have seen your father return to you, and your sister start out on her journey. I have seen you make connections with friends and care for Cadence. You have become a beautiful young lady. I am sorry I am not around to be there for you, but I will always be with you. But you are here now, Mother, I said. I cannot stay, my darling girl. You cannot heal with my words lurking inside. I have come to pass on my message only. You must not blame yourself. There was nothing that could be done for me. Embrace yourself and your powers, and always cherish your loved ones. I have faith that this will guide you to your brother. I love you all so much. I love you too, Mother, I responded. Mother? I called out. The room filled with quiet emptiness around me as I was left with my own thoughts yet again. I stayed there, knelt on the floor, clutching the stone, willing my mother to speak to me again. As the remnants of Mother's words faded away, so too did the burden that weighed heavily inside. A renewed energy surged within me, and a new hope with it.